more in the low block, but we had our chances, and we had some moments with the ball, and we pushed City to their half. I think we were near the goal, but if you look at the game, you can accept the draw.
Yeah. So they had more of the ball, but did you feel like you had a bit more of the threat?
Yes, because you have more space, and that is something that is normal when you are prepared to do that, and you expect to do that. We were closer, I think, to the goal. They have more possession. That is normal.
Is it still that last bit for you though? In the last third, final pass, final cross. I heard you talk about it in midweek. Same again today. Sometimes
Ederson did quite well, because we had some moments in the pass was in the they used a good pass in the overlap sometimes, things that we didn't do against Nottingham, and then Ederson was there, but if you look at the team, we have so much to improve in every aspect of the game, so that is one more.
Okay, give us some of those things. Where do you need to improve? We've not got long enough.
Everywhere. I think everywhere. We need to improve in every aspect of the game, build up, transition, decision clearly in the final third. So we have to improve in every aspect.
How can you improve that last bit in the final third? Is it about developing individuals, or can it only be done in the transfer market?
No, we have... Every player can improve, and they are here because they show something in other clubs. So they have the quality. We have to spend more time there. We are still a team. Sometimes it's more danger in transition. We have to spend more time near the final third to have more opportunities.
Do you still feel, despite what you're saying about you can improve literally everywhere, do you see progress?
Well, I can see it. I can see the connections are a little bit better. You can feel that the players are more comfortable to the positions. We can find players between the lines. All that things, we are more calm with the ball. So we are better. But like I said in the beginning, we have a lot to improve.
Yeah, and you talked in the week about being in a rush to get to where City are right now, and even beyond that. So what's it going to take, maybe over the summer, to make that leap so you're contending at least somewhere near at the top?
Again, I know I'm not naive, I'm not crazy. I can see the moment that we are. I can look at to the opponents, and I understand there's a big gap. But I'm as a leader, I cannot say that we are going to take a lot of time. Even if you want to bring someone, if you want to push our players, you have to show some hurry. You have to feel that urgency to do something better, because you don't have a lot of time in the club like ours. So we are in the rush. That is clear.
What did you make of it today as a game for a derby in this country? It's quite a cagey game, I guess, 0-0. Why was it that way?
I think if you look at the moment of both teams, not fighting for the title, that changed completely the game. You can make a funny game, but the feeling of winning, you cannot lose 1 point. You have to win every game at home. That feeling is not here, and it's hard for me. I'm the coach. It's hard to say that. So we need to fight for big things. If we are fighting for big things, the feeling it will be completely different. In that urgency, you will feel it more in the game. Like you don't feel it today, because both teams are sometimes they have a lot of doubts in some moments to jump in the pressure, etc., etc. So I think you need to be fighting for the big things.
Thank you.
Much to discuss on both captains today. Some interesting thoughts there from Bruno Fernandes, and he's stating the obvious, really, in the fact that they need to be more clinical, which is right back to the theme of the start of the show when we were talking about the centre forwards, and the fact that Manchester United have still only scored 37 goals, and only 5 teams in the Premier League have scored fewer than them.
Yeah, it's a big issue, Steve. As you said, we said that before. I think it's quite right saying the defensive organisation looks all right. But is that because they don't look like a threat at the other end of the pitch? You know what I mean? That balance has to be right. The balance isn't quite there. They definitely need more ammunition in the forward area of the pitch. That goes without saying. I think Garnacho is the only threat, but again, we're talking about the threat where he scored once in 25, 26 games. It's not enough. He needs to be more consistent. with his chance, he should have scored again today for me. The diving header 5 yards out, it should be a goal. And that reinforcements are, look, we know reinforcements need possibly all over the pitch, but especially in forward areas, they're just toothless in attack.
I'm going to give you an incredible stat now, because it's not just reinforcements, it's the way they're playing that's getting much discussion. Since Ruben Amorim arrived, only Leicester City have scored in fewer games than Manchester United. So actually the goal scoring record's gone backwards since this manager came in, with the shape and with the players that he has available to him.
Yeah, and from what we've seen so far, it's not going to change that. He's not going to change the shape, whether it's winning games or losing games. It doesn't seem to matter to him now. He thinks he's got... Well, I think deep down he knows he probably hasn't got the players that he needs for the shape he wants to play, but he's just getting on with it anyway, cracking on with it, hoping eventually it does come, and then when he brings his new players in, that they will be off and running with it. I think defensively, it feels like it's working, because you look at the record, you look at today, they didn't really concede any chances, I think, over the last 5-6. But they're not playing against great opposition in the last five or 6 weeks. You have to take that into account as well. And they have looked defensively solid. They do, but to win games of football, you've got to score goals. This is just the way of this club. This club is about entertaining people, having brilliant forward players. Forward players are just, they're not at the level that is required to have a team who can compete constantly.
Potential manager, he'd have put himself forward with a forward-thinking, attacking system, because he was so keen, so implement. Like he would have interviewed on his sword, this is my system and this is what brings success. So what on earth are they doing in training? Because defensively, like you say, defensively they do look fairly solid. But in the Premier League, to be successful, you can't just rely on being like, you know, Forest, Leicester, those sorts of teams, they don't come around very often. There's not much sustainability to what they're trying to do. You can have one good season, but what could he possibly be doing in training to balance that up? Because they can't just think as soon as they start attacking, they're vulnerable. It doesn't work. A good team doesn't, the moment they attack.
Yeah. Well, I think his system can be an attacking system. I think he's shown at Sporting Lisbon. Of course. They scored plenty of goals. I just don't... He hasn't got the ammunition to go out and actually score goals. He just hasn't got it. He's got Bruno Fernandes, who's capable. Xerxes, Højlund, not goal scorers. Garnacho doesn't look like a goal scorer enough. You can go recruitment right back down the years, can't you, for the last 2 or 3 years, and think, how on God's earth have Manchester United ended up with one centre forward who doesn't score goals? It's incredible.
It would be interesting to see if you gave Ruben Amorim and said, what is your ideal 11 for the system that you want to play? I wouldn't be able to name the players that he'd want. It doesn't really just quite make sense. He did well at Sporting, and I'm sure he's a top coach when he's on fire and when the team are flowing. But it's just really, really hard to work out what his team looks like when it's successful, being both solid at the back, which every title-winning team needs to be, but also effective going forward. That's the one thing that I'm just struggling to see.
We have to cut him some slack here in the sense that the way he
recruited terrible players, they should be able to coach them into some sort of system, like working with them every single day. Like that's what you forget about a professional footballer.
Joe, when you said there wasn't much competition, I don't remember much competition for some of the players they did sign. I don't remember being a fight over Joshua Xerxes all around Europe. Ugarte, Højlund, possibly. I think Højlund might have been one who people could have wanted because he was so young. Anthony, who I can't think of many teams. They're not fighting for players who other teams want, are they? And that's possibly an issue as well.
Up at Man United for huge money. That's wild.
Bad recruitment.
Yeah,
terrible recruitment.
And in terms of what you're saying, that the players don't fit the system and he hasn't got his own players, we're not expecting a huge turnover of players this summer to try and make an instant difference at the start of next season. So is that a concern as well?
It has to be a major concern. Where's the money coming from? Obviously, we've seen the interview from Sir Jim, and it didn't make good reading. You don't think like he's got a war chest to go to war with. He just doesn't feel like that. I get the impression, and I could be wrong here, but I think they might sell the 2 young players. I think they might sell Garnacho and Mainu just obviously for PSR issues as well. What can you do for selling for 60 million? Then you can spend 180 million. I think that's.
Would that be sickening? Especially when you look at someone like what Scott McTominay's doing in Italy at the moment with Napoli.
The Manu one would hurt, yeah. Did you know what? They both hurt. When you're looking for, okay, Garnacho's come later, but Manu, you're talking about a boy who's come to Man United at 6, 7 years of age. Now he's been coached. He's been right through the system up to 18, 19 years of age. Come through to the first team, but a brilliant year last year. Not so good this year. It makes the academy system fail, really. It makes it look bad that they've had to sell that player. And that's just because of mismanagement that's happened through the years now. I'm open wrong. I hope they don't have to do that. But the noises you hear, it has to be a big concern. And for Manchester to be in this position, you look back at Manchester over the last 20 years, you think, get any player in the world.
Yeah.
Any player they want. And we had a brief conversation before. If clubs, Man United might be in the league now of competing with the likes of Newcastle, the likes of Aston Villa in the transfer market, possibly not your Liverpools and your Manchester Cities and your Chelseas, because, and if you're looking as a player, you think, right, Manchester United want me, Manchester City want me, and it hurts me to say that, but where are you going? With the trouble that's at Manchester United, at that club in a minute, it could be a mess for the next 5, 10 years. Now look, they might have the right man in place, and they're saying, Amorim, is he the right man? He's got a big job. This is a big job for anyone. Whoever the manager is, Pep Guardiola could be there. This is a major
seen
job.
Some of Europe's biggest names in there, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. We've tried everything. Now it's time to just stick with the system as he's doing. United fans are brilliant as well. They'll support whatever manager. Even Ten Hag in the later days, everyone knew it wasn't great, but they support him, and eventually you've just got to stick with it, I think. Because you tried your Van Gaal, you tried your Mourinho's, the very best around, and it's not worked. So we've got a really young, bright manager. We know that. He's great record in Sporting. I know Sporting in the Portuguese league is not Manchester United, and it's not the Premier League, but we've got to stick with him. We've got to stick with somebody, whoever. I don't care who it is. You've got to stick with him now and trust him for the next 3 or 4 years. Now there's going to be horrible times through that, definitely, and he's had not a great start, has he? To be fair to him, but I think he's getting parts of it right.
Like Arsenal have done with Arteta.
Yes. Very much so. What's Arteta been there 5 or 6 years? They won the FA Cup early on, which was great for him. Hopefully Manchester United go and win this Europa League for him early on, and then that gives him that time to build, because Arteta, when he first went, Arsenal were a poor team, and he's rebuilt. I rebuilt it with Edu. Don't get me wrong, that's another worry. You think, see, he possibly came over it under false pretences at Amorim. You think, right, the first time Manchester United have got a director of football in Dan Ashworth, within 2 or 3 months he's gone. All of a sudden, he's back on his own again. They haven't employed anybody else. And he's a young manager coming over to a different league. Another thing, he's got a really young set of staff with him as well, which sometimes I think it might be a good idea to try and bring somebody experienced, especially a bit of experience of the
club and the league.
The club and the league especially. There's plenty of people out there, he obviously doesn't want to do that, but he needs help around the training ground every day. I don't know if Jason Wilcox is now that man. But you can't just leave him to it. There were so many times that Ten Hag, he was like the one man representing the club. He was almost sent out to the Lions all the time to defend everything. I don't want this man to have to do it. He's young. He's got a big enough job in his hands. He needs that help in the background. And I think a director of football would be some really experienced. Look what Arsenal have just done with the lad from Atletico Madrid, Berta. Somebody like that, somebody with real experience and presence in behind him, just to help him along day to day with the job.
Unai Emery's got Monchi as well, hasn't he? At Villa,
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you talk about trusting Ruben Amorim. Let's hear from him now.